Hello, folks. Welcome to Kudlow. I'm Larry Kudlow. So we've got some breaking news just in the last hour, I don't know, half hour. John Durham finds the Justice Department and the FBI failed to uphold the mission of strict fidelity to the law in all the Trump-Russia probe. And by the way, where's the informant for the current Biden situation? We're waiting for Senator Ron Johnson to hook in. I just want to say, if you recall, this goes back to 2016. All of the misinformation and disinformation and the Russian hoax, the Mueller report, the phony Steele dossier, which was financed by the Hillary Clinton presidential campaign. So Durham has come out, at least has got a long report, 300 pages, but he's come out very critical of this whole thing. All right, we are fortunate now. Joining us is Wisconsin Senator Ron Johnson. Senator Johnson, thank you for this. We appreciate it. You have a reaction to the Durham report. You probably haven't read it yet, but you've seen the headlines. Anything you want to share with us on your thinking?
Well, it's pretty much what I've always suspected. I think some of the shocking elements is the fact that President Obama, Vice President Biden, John Brennan, they were briefed, I think, on August 3rd of 2016 that Hillary Clinton had a scheme to make up a tie between Russia and the Trump campaign and Donald Trump. So they knew this was a Democrat, Hillary Clinton-led dirty trick, and they proceeded on. By the way, I appreciate the fact that Attorney General Garland is releasing this report. This is the American public needs to see this. My concern is the mainstream media will just shrug and say, oh, this is old news. This will be, I think, explosive news when we find out how, for example, the FBI investigation lacked predication. Now, this is in complete contradiction to what IG Horowitz said, that he thought he felt that there was predication. I never agreed with that, but I'll also remind you that in that FISA report, they redacted footnotes that completely contradicted the FISA report when Bill Priestley said that the FBI had no idea that the Steele dossier contained Russian disinformation. The footnotes completely contradicted that. They knew that the Steele dossier was Russian disinformation. So again, we are going to, it appears that we are going to show in this report the corruption within the FBI in terms of how this investigation, Donald Trump, was a pure hoax.
Didn't the FBI, Senator Johnson, didn't the FBI just take this Steele dossier, which was completely phony, was financed by the Clinton campaign, but basically the FBI took this and drove it, jammed it down everybody's throats, the FISA courts, the mass media, the impeachment hearings, all this phony Russian hoax stuff that plagued Donald Trump really throughout his administration? Wasn't it the FBI that just jammed this down? And wasn't it a bunch of liberal lefties inside the FBI who jammed it through?
Yeah. And let's face it, Larry, we've known about this for quite a few years now. So this will give us more detail. This will confirm what we've already known. But I'll go back to the complicity, corruption of the media that have also known this. I mean, where's the investigations, the investigatory journalism trying to uncover who fed them all this false information, where this all came from? Where's the mea culpa on the part of the media saying, you know, we got this completely wrong. We dragged America through this political turmoil for the entire Trump administration. It was all based on a lie. It was all based on a lie. This is outrageous.
You know, it's not dissimilar, I guess I want to say. It's not dissimilar to what we've had, you know, the revelations recently that the Biden campaign, Antony Blinken, who winds up becoming Secretary of State as a reward for being a political hack, that they created this gang of 51, as I call it, former intelligence agents, who then said the Hunter Biden laptop was a Russian disinformation, and they jammed that into the media so they could help Biden in the debate. But it's very similar. This is now not the FBI. This is more the intelligence community, although I think FBI people were part of the gang of 51. But this is another Democrat dirty tricks, basically, was it not?
Yeah, it's more than just similar. It's part of the same operation. Remember, the FBI had Hunter Biden's computer in 2019. were involved in a scheme to downplay the derogatory information. We were part of, I would say, an FBI operation against myself and Senator Grassley, where they gave us an unsolicited briefing and then leaked at the media to smear us. All during our investigation, we were being accused by Democrats in the media of soliciting and disseminating Russian disinformation. It was all completely false, and yet that was the narrative that carried the day. So, Larry, this is just one continuation of the FBI exonerating Hillary Clinton. Remember that the exoneration memo from James Comey that was edited multiple times about the FBI. The same cast characters came over and did the Crossfire Hurricane, the Russian hoax, and then you had the FBI sabotaging the revelation that Senator Grassley and I had in our report, plus the Hunter Biden laptop, and then that bled over into the intelligence community. So to me, this is the same group of insiders inside federal law enforcement, the FBI, Department of Justice, our intelligence communities. This is the deep state being revealed, and the question is, will the media and will our Democrat colleagues acknowledge it and start working with us to break up the deep state?
Shouldn't people be busted for these Democratic dirty tricks? I mean, the Durham report, I mean, he had some campaign lawyers, but they weren't convicted or they weren't arraigned. But it just seems to me, FBI, CIA, Justice Department, these are Democrat dirty tricks in different campaigns. The Hillary Clinton campaign, then the Joe Biden campaign. There's a lot of overlap of the people that conducted these dirty tricks. I mean, just someplace, if we're going to clean house in Washington, D.C., doesn't somebody someplace have to have some legal problems, convictions? I mean, someone has to be punished for this. Otherwise, what the heck? It'll go on forever. Just the next campaign, God knows what the current Biden campaign is up to.
Now, listen, I share your concern. Obviously, I was disappointed that Durham didn't deliver more indictments. I suppose his concern is it's very difficult to convict a Democrat here in Washington, D.C. in this district, because the jury pool is basically made up of 90% plus Democrats. So, he wasn't going to indict unless he felt he could get a conviction. But to me, the first step in solving this problem is complete exposure, letting the American public see the truth, and that's where I hold the press so accountable. They have not been providing the information that we've known. Again, they sullied and smeared Senator Grassley and I, saying that we were disseminating Russian disinformation. Nothing could be further from the truth. So they're complicit in this. The media is corrupt, and we need an unbiased media that holds both sides equally accountable. We don't have that right now, and I would argue that is the greatest danger to our democracy right now, is a dishonest, highly biased media pushing the progressive woke agenda.
Let me just switch topics a little bit. Another issue dear to your heart, because you and Senator Grassley have done a lot of work on all this foreign investment, all these LLCs among the Biden family. Every Biden family member gets their own LLC. Money from China, money from Romania, money from the Ukraine, money from Lord knows where. Now, Jim Comer was on Maria Bartiromo's Sunday show. He said he can't track down the top informant in the Biden probe, potential bribery probe, potentially pay to play from a foreign national, but his top informant is nowhere to be found. What does that mean? Where's this going to lead? How's this going to stack up now?
Yeah, well, I'm concerned about that. But I will say that I don't know what more evidence the American public needs. Now, I realize because of corrupt media, most of this evidence has not been broadcast, so that most Americans are not aware of the complete moral bankruptcy and moral depravity of the Biden family. And that's what we're talking about here. We gloss over the fact that Hunter Biden was spending tens of thousands of dollars paying for women who were sex trafficked. And then Biden offered to pay $100,000 of his expenses during that same time period. We've got a president of the United States has a granddaughter, won't even acknowledge her. That is just morally bankrupt. So this is a corrupt family. It's obvious. It was obvious ever since Senator Grassley and I issued our report. We showed all these financial transactions, millions of dollars. We showed diamonds being given. We saw the potential money laundering. We laid out all this complexity of their LLCs. But the media, again, just labeled all that Russian disinformation and walked away from it.
Trouble is, seems to me, and I agree, the other evidence is now proliferating, all these suspicious accounts from the Treasury Department and so forth. But Biden himself, as vice president and maybe as president, has not yet been clearly fingered. The so-called bribery allegations, pay for play by national, affecting some kind of policies, hasn't, that last step or two, Senator Johnson, we haven't really fingered him. And I don't know how important this informant is. I don't know if there's anybody else that could do it, but it seems to me that's going to leave a very big missing link.
Well, we need all the bank records. I know James Comer hasn't been able to get all the bank records. But let's face it, criminals hide their criminal activity. They don't make it easy for people to uncover their wrongdoing. And so these investigations are painstaking. You've got to, pick up one piece of evidence and try and follow that thread to the next piece. And again, when you've got a complicit and corrupt media that won't report the truth that shows in terms of all the evidence we already do know of the corruption of the Biden family, but we still elect this guy president, and they're still covering up for him. It's a real issue.
One last one, Senator Johnson. We appreciate your time. You're a great friend. You're actually a great personal friend. This business, Joe Biden speaks to Howard University's commencement. Howard is a fine school, historic black college, and says the biggest terrorist threat America faces is white supremacy. And then his DHS secretary, Alejandro Mayorkas, repeats the white supremacy. You've got on the border, which is completely open and utterly engulfed in chaos, as every American knows right now. You've got people coming in from over 100 countries. And they've also tracked some people on the terrorist list have also come across this open border. We could talk about the open border forever, but this business about white supremacy, really? That's the biggest terrorist threat? And by the by, not the economy, not inflation, not the recession, not what's going on in woke schooling and the parental revolt, not the open border where people from 100 countries are coming in, and Biden has to start talking about white supremacy? Really? What do you make of that, sir?
So this is a classic tactic of the radical left. Falsely accuse your political opponent of exactly what you are doing. So they go out and tell the American public that Republicans hate you or hate that particular group. We don't. We don't have hate in our hearts. They are the ones that are exacerbating the divide. They're telling somebody that somebody else hates them so that that person hates the other person. They are driving this. And of course, if you want a secure border, if you want a sovereign nation, now apparently you're a racist and you hate those people. Nothing could be further from the truth, but it's the people that are pushing things like DEI, pushing critical race theory. They are the ones that are pushing hate. They are the ones that are dividing this nation. They are the ones that are destroying this country.
I'll just say, after your fine summary, go back in time, all right? As a young man, I was there in the 60s. I was a Democrat. I was a civil rights guy, or call me a civil rights Republican years later. But the fact is, the great civil rights legislation that was passed in the 1960s, okay, on voting, on housing, on any number of areas, that opened the door to end racism, or at least knock it way, way down. That was done by LBJ's partnership with Everett Dirksen and a number of other Republican senators, while the Ku Klux Klan was part of the Democratic Party for 100 years, including, and I'm sorry to say this, but the Senate leader, longtime leader Robert Byrd, was a KKK person. I mean, that's why this is just such garbage, such phony stuff, such a false attack. The obvious, he's saying, he's inferring that Republicans are for white supremacy. Nonsense. It was the Democrats who housed the white supremacists all those years, not the Republican Party.
Larry, during my lifetime, I've seen discrimination in all of its forms dramatically reduced. We embraced Martin Luther King's call to judge people by the content of their character and the color of their skin. Why not celebrate that success and build upon it? That's not what the radical left's doing. They are saying that we haven't made progress, that it's a lot worse, that we hate people, so those folks ought to hate us. They are the problem. They are the purveyors of hate.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir, Senator Ron Johnson. Yes, sir. Thank you for all your time today. Thank you for all the service that you have done, and we'll see you soon.